Good morning, and peace and blessings to you. It's a great day. It's a blessed day. It's a Wednesday. And if you don't know anything else on this Wednesday, know that you deserve to be blessed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this morning is Wednesday. You know we have this coronavirus going around and all this other good stuff like that, but we are here this morning. I am actually in the building this morning with Josh Mika from POZ Impact, and we are here this morning. Can y'all give him a hello, a good morning, and all that good stuff like that? So he's here this morning. And if you notice, we are social distancing ourselves this morning, so we're making sure that we are good and that we got that going on. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about just what POZ Impact means for Josh, his journey, and what's going on, right? That's what we're going to talk about. So it should be a fun-filled, information-filled time this morning. But what we want to do this morning, before we get into all of that, what we want to do this morning is we want to take a moment with all this corona stuff going around, with all this panic and mayhem and everything that's happening. We just want to take a moment, right? We just want to take a moment and acknowledge our breath. We want to take a moment and acknowledge that our breath is important. I think it's important for you to stop, right? I'm not going to tell you not to panic. I'm not going to tell you not to social distance yourself. I'm not going to tell you not to make sure that you don't hug or do whatever it is that you normally would do because you're worried about the corona. I call it the corona. Y'all know me. Put a little twist on it, but I call it the corona. So do what you feel you need to do, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you're protected. Make sure that you are good. Make sure that you got everything going on the way that you should, right? Yesterday I was talking with someone and they were telling me that here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to get it together here this morning. Well, at least I am. At least I'm trying to get it together this morning. Because I came in this morning and Josh got a whole production going on and I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of it.
Yes. This is what I normally do on my show on POZ Impact and with Real Talk with Right. Hale. And so I was like, well, I can't do that. I can't not do that for your show
How about
too.
that?
You know, and I want to make sure, you know, we also are not only keeping social distance, but we're making sure that our station is clean for visitors who are coming in. We wipe down with Clorox wipes our mics, and last night after we used our show, before we used our show, you know, just to take extra precautions with everything going on.
Exactly.
And so I'm super excited to be here with Titian on the Real Talk morning show with him. I'm excited to tell about my journey with POZ Impact and, you know, any questions that listeners may have about, you know, HIV or how to get access to it, please give us a call.
Indeed.
You know, we're here to help with whatever you guys may need or any questions that people may have about HIV. So let me know whenever you're ready. And
so what we normally do, we normally make sure that we go ahead and take a breath in the morning and then we groove a little bit. So, you know, I'm a little bit unorthodox, if you would.
Yes, I love it.
Because people say all the time, well, Titan, you know, that's not the normal. Well, I'm not normal. So there's nothing that we're going to do here today that's going to be, quote unquote, normal, right? But we will go ahead and get into the conversation and everything, but we're going to go ahead and take a breath first, acknowledge that our breath is important, and then we're going to do a little bit of a groove, and then we'll go into it, and in that way Josh can go ahead and speak on what Josh has going on and where Josh is now, how did he get here, all of that other good stuff like that. So yes, so I'm showing you the POZ Impact banner behind Josh. That is he is he, that's him right there. So yeah. So yes indeed. Jennifer says, hello Josh.
Good morning, how are you?
So she, you know what, Jennifer, yes, we're your faves, I understand. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so what we're going to do this morning, in the midst of all of this corona, in the midst of all of what's going on and all of this good stuff, what we want to do this morning is go ahead and acknowledge that our breath is important. We want to acknowledge that you are important. We want to acknowledge that even though you're going through this corona right now, that you have a reason to push on, to go on, to be, and to do. So what I want you to do this morning with me, as we do every morning, I want you to go ahead and I want you to take these breaths with us. Now, when we take the breaths, what I want you to do is acknowledge whatever it is that you could have, let's say, there could have been something that you wanted to change, that you felt that you could have handled differently, that you felt that you could have done differently, right? There could have been something that you wanted to see go another way. So what I believe is that if you take these breaths and you recenter yourself, that you're able to change the atmosphere, you're able to change what's going on, you're able to change your understanding, right? And I think sometimes what we do, especially now with this panic and this epidemic, this pandemic, this everything that's going on, we literally do not take time just to breathe, just to rationalize what's really happening with us. Everybody is panicking. Nobody wants to touch. Nobody wants to be near you. Nobody wants to do all of this. And although that is the way that the CDC and everyone is saying that we should be, sometimes, right? Sometimes that can be a little tasky. You know what I'm saying? Because you're used to touching people. You're used to being around people. You're used to doing these things. And now they're telling you that you can't do that. It's in your best interest not to do. Now, of course, there are people out there that are going to go ahead and do it anyways, right? But in this moment, I want you to acknowledge what it is that's going on with you, how you feel on the inside, and what's happening, okay? So with that being said, what I'm going to do, we're going to count off, and I'm going to take 3 breaths. And on those 3 breaths that I take, right, we want to make sure that we are acknowledging whatever the issue is. And then when we blow it out, I want you to blow it out somewhere far, far away where you can't get it back, right? Now, I know some of you are probably saying, okay, Titan, really, really? No, but if you think about it, mentally, we are more powerful than we know. So in your mind, if you send it away, you with me? If you send it away, you can send it away to a place that you won't grasp it so fast. So think about Mount Fiji. Think about Mount Everest. Think, I don't know, 20 leagues below the sea, right? And you blow whatever that issue is or whatever that problem is, you blow it there, right? And then that way you can't go back and just pick it up. You with me on that?
Yes. Yes.
So
I like it. I
yeah.
like that
So
idea.
that's what we want to do. So when you blow it out, you go ahead.
No, so we should all be practicing that. You know, in the first before we do anything, it's just a breather to make sure that, you know, hey, is this really what I want to say?
Exactly.
Hey, is this really what I want to do?
Exactly.
And so this is actually, I think it's perfect.
Yes. And it's almost like you're praying or you're meditating, right? Yeah. You're just taking it in and acknowledging for what it is, and then you're blowing it out, right? And that's what you're doing. But what we want to do on the last one, I know I'm always giving these long intros to these breaths, but on the last one,
I love it.
What I want you to do is I want you to make some noise. Because what we're going to do, we're going to acknowledge the fact that whatever it was that was bothering us, right? We're going to acknowledge that it's no longer a bother. It's no longer an issue. It's no longer a problem, okay? So that's what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to take the first breath and I'm going to count it out, right? I'm going to count it out at a 5 pace. But as Ian so eloquently put it to me, it's a 20 count, and I'm sitting up here masking it as a 5 count. But it's a longer 5 pace, right? And in truth, if you count it out, if you count to 20, that's how long you actually hold in the breath. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been doing this for a minute, so I can hold the breath to 20 with no problem. But if you can't hold it to 20, if you only can get to 3, if you can only get to 4, if you can only get to 2, then you do that, right? No hold bars, you know, I'm not tripping. So I just want you to understand, you shouldn't be coughing, you shouldn't be spitting up, you shouldn't be passing out, none of that stuff. You should feel a little warm and fuzzy, right? Because you're holding your breath, and what you're doing is you're recharging your neurons and your cells, okay? All right, y'all, I did all that, blah, 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 blah. All right, now, if you would for me, I'm going to count to 3. Let's take that deep breath. When you take that deep breath in, I'm going to count it out at a 5 pace, at a slower 5 pace. Once I count it out, then you blow it out at the end. You take the second one, I'm not going to count. And then the third one, when you release the breath, you make some noise. Because what you're doing is you're acknowledging that that's not going to bother you anymore. You acknowledge into the universe that you've dealt with. Right? Y'all with me? All right.
Yes.
Let's go. Shake it out a little bit. Shake it out. All right? So on the count of 3, we're going to take the deep breath, and then we're going to hold it. I'll count it out, and we'll go that route. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I know. My pace was a little faster than normal. I know. Look. I'm trying to make sure me and Josh on it in here, right?
Yeah.
All right. So here we go with the second breath. Take a moment, shake it out, right? Close your eyes, think about something, center yourself. All right. 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Blow it out. All right, y'all. This is the last one. You should feel a little something all up into your heart area. Look. Ladies and gentlemen, you shouldn't be passing. I'm not responsible. Me and Josh are not responsible.
That's
Y'all sitting over here spitting up. Take a moment.
Yes, you may have the coronavirus.
Okay.
If you can't hold your breath for like 30 minutes.
Take a
30
moment.
seconds.
Yes, exactly. You may have it. Let me see if I can.
But yes, if you can only do for a couple seconds, the fact that you do it is not how long you do it. I think it's just the fact that you're able to release this emotion,
Right.
this kind of like stressful situation that we're all in, and it gives you do it 3 times. That's I think that's perfect. I think that's it gives everybody, that's 20, 40, 60 seconds, a minute,
Right.
of just nothing. Your thoughts kind of go blank when your mind is kind of like, and if it's racing, then it's a good time to close some of the windows.
Exactly. Come on, Josh. That part right there. We all need to slow down a little bit.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And a lot of times, like you said, your mind is racing and it's going, and then when you take these breaths, you're able to slow down a little bit and make sure that you are good. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are on the last breath this morning. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on. For those of you who saw that I just touched my face, I don't need no problems. Okay? But look. So, I just turned this camera around so that I could see Josh better. But then I just turned it back on myself, and this light is wonderful. This light is great. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So here we go with this last one. Remember what I told you. Once you take this breath, right, you want to go ahead and take it in. And when you release it, you want to make some noise, right? You want to make some noise. So when you make the noise, you might have to use your inside voice if you're at work or you're somewhere. We don't want nobody calling a paddy wagon and taking you away. But just make some noise with it. And what you're doing is acknowledging that issue or that problem. All right? So here we go. On the count of 3. We're going to take the deep breath in. Once we take it in, we're going to count the 5 pace, and then we're going to blow it out, and we're going to make some noise. All right, y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Deep breath in. Shake it out. I know y'all think it sounds a little crazy, but I'm telling you now, if you shake it out, if you do that on a daily basis, you're able to take a situation or a problem. Say you walk into a room, say something happened to you, right?
Yes.
And you have a moment to acknowledge your breath. And what I believe, if you acknowledge that breath, then you can change what happens next,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You can stop what's going to happen. I was talking to someone the other day, and we were at a store, and a lady sneezed, right? And everybody scattered like roaches, like
No
literally,
way.
like she sneezed, and people like the store had. We wasn't close in proximity, but you could still see everybody go like this, like
Wow.
they just ran, and then so I stopped, and the one lady was like, oh no, you have corona, and so I told her, I said, ma'am, just take a moment and breathe, right, and breathe. You protected yourself. She sneezed. Normally, we sneeze to expel things from our bodies. We sneeze in order to be healthy. So, yes, she could have corona, right? However, we don't know that. So you can't be out here self-diagnosing people and causing a panic. Because nobody wanted to come around her after she sneezed. And so I was sitting here saying to myself, what is happening right now? So she says, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm fine. I'm fine. You want some hand sanitizer? Like, I'm fine. Like, we got to be able to do those things. So I'm saying that's a little light, but sometimes you have to really think about what it is that you're doing, because what if we had some people in that area that felt like she needed to go down because she had corona? You understand what I'm saying? And so that could have started a whole other thing. So I told her, the woman that sneezed, I told her, take a moment and just breathe, right? Just breathe. It's going to be okay. Get your stuff, go on to the register, and go on. And then I said to the other lady that was saying, oh no, she don't, no, you can't, don't do that. Like,
wow,
true enough.
That is just, I cannot believe what is coming out of your mouth. Like, I'm just completely shocked, but it doesn't shock me that, man, I'm a little bit lost for words of how that scenario just played out just so quickly of people.
And then
a quick judgment. You know, out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then imagine that people are not wrapped as tight as we are.
Yeah.
And we see it all the time, right? I don't know if you saw this video that's going around that went viral of the man in China or somewhere that tried to leave his house because they said he had corona, but he was never diagnosed. And the police literally chased him down. Like, chased him down because somebody said that he had symptoms. Well, he had symptoms. And so they literally chased this man down to quarantine him, but in the midst of them chasing him down, they caused such a panic that people started jumping him, beating on him, and trying to make him not go where, I don't know where he was going, but he was going, I think at the end they said he was trying to go get his children, right? And his children were still left either at school or somewhere by themselves. And he had to go get his children, and they would not let this man go. People were jumping him, they had masks on, they had gloves on, nobody was trying to, like, and then they were saying that for him not to leave. Now I couldn't really like understand because it was not my language, you know what I mean? But you could tell how everybody was reacting. Like, the crowd was moving, everybody had cameras, you know, following him and doing what they were doing, but nobody wanted to get close. Like, everybody was just like, oh, I got this camera. So I was just saying, in that aspect, like, sometimes you have to really, really like be careful. Like, when I walked in this morning, I said to Josh, I said, hey Josh, I said, are we doing social distancing?
Yeah.
And he said, we'll high five, we'll air five, right?
Yes.
And I was cool with that. I don't have a problem with that. But I think it's wrong for us to self-diagnose people, right?
For sure.
But just because somebody coughs or somebody sneezes does not mean that they have corona. And I think we have to really be careful with that. Especially, so I'm standing in the deli, and the guy says, not today, this was probably Monday, was it Friday? It might have been Friday. The guy comes in, and he's talking to a female, and I'm standing at the counter, and I'm paying for whatever, and they're having a conversation about corona, right? And the conversation is about the fact that those of us that are HIV positive are more susceptible, right, to the disease or to the virus. And so I turned, like, not because that's not fact, or not because it could be fact, but because they feel that those of us that are HIV positive have a weak or a compromised
yes,
immune
yes.
system.
Oh my goodness.
So
yes.
this is the conversation, Josh, that was happening behind me, and I said,
Wow.
and I was telling my friend on the phone, I said, I'm sitting here saying, Titan, don't say nothing. Titan, don't say nothing. Titan, don't, because it's not going to turn out right, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that I fight the good fight, but I was like, you could cause panic. So now what you've done is there's 1, 2, 3, me 3, 4, 5, 6 people that have heard this conversation, right? And now what they're going to do is they're going to take it and give it out to 6 other people, and then I'm sitting here saying, what? So then y'all going to start chasing us down?
Yes.
Because our immune system is compromised? But I turned around and I said, well, look, I said, well, sir, you have your right to think however you want to think. I said, but I'm HIV positive, right? And you sort of saw the jump back, like the little, you know what I mean? Like, oh, wait a minute. I said, but I'm HIV positive, but I want to express something to you. Just because you're HIV positive, that doesn't mean that my immune system is weak. That doesn't mean that I'm not healthy.
Yes.
I'm healthy as an ox. I go to the doctor every 3 months. I'm getting all my shots. I'm getting everything. I'm probably healthier than you will ever be.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I said, but you can't go around saying stuff like that. That stigma of that we're infected, that we're diseased, that could cause panic.
Yes.
But the look on their face,
man, I wish I could have
was
been
like,
there. Yes.
hell?
I don't know if I could have had that courage that you just did, but I do see that a lot on on Facebook, and people just talking about how people with HIV could be more receptive to this, or I'm like, no, well, we really don't know exactly what's happening.
Exactly.
Like, let's leave this up to the medical professionals who I spoke with my doctor, a week and a half ago, and she said, don't worry about it. Your immune system is great.
Exactly.
Like, your labs are healthy. Like, you're incredibly healthy. Like, what are you, like, just practice what everybody else is practicing. And, keep washing your hands, keep social distance. If you don't need to go out, it's like you are a dog walker, and so I understand that you have to, but just make sure you kind of, wipe down their leashes, do an extra layer, and you're gonna be okay. But it's like I would still go to the movie theater, I would still go grocery shopping, I would live your life.
Yeah, like in all honesty, we have to. Like, there's no way for us to shut down and not do. Now, me and you here in the office today, we didn't necessarily have to do this, right? Yeah. But again, it's your regular life. Like, I'm not saying that tomorrow or any other day that I'm not going to go ahead and not come in or do a live or something like this or whatever have you. But I think sometimes we have to really look at it. And I told him, I said, I really want you to understand what you just did, because you don't think about it like that. If you're sitting here saying these type of things, right, for you, it doesn't make a difference. But for somebody who's HIV positive, it makes a huge difference. And so I thought it was cool. But let me tell you what's funny. So the deli downstairs, I've been getting sandwiches from them and coffee from them almost every morning and stuff like that. And they were just like, oh, thank you so much for telling them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because she said that she's been discriminated against because she's of Asian descent. So they already think that's where it came from. So, well, we know. But I was just telling her, she said, well, you still going to get your sandwich? Josh, what did they just bring me this morning? My sandwich. Okay. I'm eating my sandwich. I'm going to have my sandwich. I'm going to do my sandwich. I just think that sometimes we really have to, like, be careful what we're doing.
And so to bring it all back together, this is why I think it's just so important for everybody to take a deep breath and everybody kind of just realize that what we're gonna say and how we're gonna say it and how it's gonna come across to somebody. So if you know that if you're gonna say something and practice this 1 minute deep breath, inhale for 20 seconds, exhale, inhale again. And that will kind of clear your mind. And if you still want to say what you need to say, go say make your peace. Exactly. But at least you know that you're not saying it out of anger. You're not saying it out of spite. And maybe you'll reconsider how you're going to say something, because we really don't know how this corona affects anybody. We still don't know statistics. I just spoke with the director for Thomas Street yesterday, and I said, do you know if anybody who's HIV, living with HIV, has gotten this yet. And she told me no, not yet. She doesn't know anybody who has been living with HIV to get it. So we don't know the statistics of this yet. So we don't know if maybe our antiviral medication is what's keeping the virus from getting to us. You know, they don't know. They're using antiviral therapy right now to combat this virus. So we don't know why we're not getting it. We don't know if we are getting it. We don't know who's. We just know people are getting it.
Exactly.
And just if you're gonna live with HIV, just you do your regular things that you normally do. We all have to worry about our immune system. I worry about my immune system every day. I don't this is an every day for me. I always have to be constantly worried about if I get a cold. You know, if I start having a fever, start having a cough more than normal. Yeah, I immediately call my doctor and I immediately take care of it. So I go see my doctor, you know, every 3 months. I'm healthy. I'm good. Like, when was the last time these people saw their physicians? You know, so
that part.
You know, like once a year, maybe once every 2 years. You know, like I'm so glad that you were able to, you know, maybe like the right time, the right place to really educate somebody. Because man, that look on their faces, I bet it was just priceless. Like, first of all, step back.
Yeah, because and you know, Josh, I dream in color. So sometimes when I talk about things, I talk about things like this. You know what I mean? I talk about like it's big, but I was telling them, I said, you have to really be, and see, and Josh, I don't know if this would have been 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I would have stepped up and said anything like that, right?
Yeah.
But because of my last year or so of me doing what I'm doing, I really felt the need to stop people from pointing the finger at people like me because I'm HIV positive. And I'm saying to myself, bruh, like I walk around, and this is nothing against being HIV positive, because you know I wear that on my sleeve. Like I'm HIV positive, that's what it is. But I am a normal human being, right?
Yeah, right there.
Like my immune system was affected or effected at that time, but now my numbers are good. I'm healthy as an ox. I go to the doctor, and the doctor be like, "You fine? Like, what are you worried about?" Like the doctor told you, like, let it go. Do what you normally do. You've been protecting yourself all of this time. I've been HIV positive for 15 years.
Yes. Wow.
So in 15 years, so in 15 years, if I've been able to miss the Zika virus, HPV, H1N1, rada, do the corona, if I'm able to go past all of these actual viruses and diseases, and I don't have any STIs or anything like that, what am I doing differently now? Because I should have already been doing it. And actually, I've been doing it. Like somebody asked me the other day, I came out of the bathroom, and I know they were joking, but I didn't think it was funny. They were like, "Did you wash your hands?" This is the look I gave them. Oh, okay. You didn't just ask a grown man, did he just wash his hands? Like, what's happening? How about you worry about you washing your hands and your children's hands, and don't worry about me? But in this day and age, everybody is thinking that they have the right to question you or self-diagnose you with something, and that's not the way it is. Go to the doctor. If you feel that you may have corona, then COVID-19.
They stay away from everybody.
Exactly. But then why don't you go and get tested so that you know? And then that brings me back around to being tested. Just like know your status.
Yes.
Like know your status. Like I know my status. I know my numbers. I know where I'm at. I know if I'm healthy or not.
Yes.
Right?
Let's talk about your status real quick. Since we're all going to be worried about this coronavirus.
Yes.
They should just might as well get everybody tested for HIV right there and then.
Yes.
Get that swab test. You have to do a swab test anyways. So why don't with this panic disaster, we should all be getting tested for HIV, and then bam, we knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
But you know what's funny though?
We ain't talking about that though right now.
Exactly, and you know what's funny, and it's funny that you bring that up, because I was talking with someone today is Monday, and they were saying, well, they making these little jokes, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was telling them, no, but on a serious tip, y'all don't want to hear this. But you should know your status. The same way you want to know your corona status, you should know your HIV status.
That's
you
correct.
should know, and it doesn't matter who you are. And they were like, well, Titan, you always talking about HIV. No, look how y'all are running to go get tested for this coronavirus.
The same thing you should be doing for the HIV test. Bam,
that
right
part.
there. And that I'm so glad that I'm here with you to talk about this a little bit. because I think that is so important that we're addressing this stigma.
Yes,
And we're
yes.
addressing this fact, like we're all running, but where was this run when people were dying from HIV?
Exactly.
You know, where were you
exactly.
then? People were afraid to get tested for HIV, but we're not afraid to get tested for the coronavirus.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know that you can live a healthy life even if you are diagnosed
Right,
with HIV.
right,
15
right.
years for you. I think it's only 2 years for me.
Right.
But I'm healthy. You know,
Exactly.
you're healthy. We're healthy.
Right.
We know our community is healthy, and we know the numbers don't lie.
Right.
You know, U equals U.
Come on.
Undetectable means
Come on.
untransmittable.
Right.
You know, that's been a fact for a very long time.
Mhm.
It's not gonna change. So if everybody's so worried about having this coronavirus, why don't you guys go ahead and get tested for this HIV test as well too, and you knock out
Exactly.
2 birds with 1 stone, and that way you know your status as well too.
But you know what's funny though, and I'm totally with you on that. But you know what's funny? They would be relieved to have the coronavirus
Yes.
versus HIV.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Like you would be happy, you'd be jumping up and down. Oh, I got corona. I'm negative for HIV. What? What? Like, bruh, like the lines that I've seen on TV of people waiting to get tested is ridiculous. But where is all of that for HIV?
Yes.
HIV. This coronavirus is spread. We don't know nothing about this coronavirus.
Correct.
Literally, we don't know nothing. We know, we speculating. These are your symptoms. It stays in your throat. It does this and does that.
Yeah.
But we know, how much do we know about HIV? We know a
A
lot.
Yeah.
But we still won't get tested for that. We still won't do that. And Josh,
why do we have such a fear? You know, this is what I really want to understand is why are we so afraid of getting
Right.
HIV tested,
Right.
but we're not afraid to get this corona tested?
Right.
HIV is no longer a death sentence.
Right.
It's you no longer die from having HIV. So how can we? And this is where POZ Impact comes
Right,
in.
right,
You know,
right.
and so this is why I started POZ Impact to get this voice out there in the community to know that hey, everybody should get tested.
Right.
And
right.
now with this pandemic, now I'm really like, okay, everybody should go get tested. Now that you have
Exactly.
time, now that the insurance companies are being flexible, you know, now that your copays are being waived, and you know you're about to get this little chunk of change,
Mhm.
go ahead and get tested as well too.
Right.
Come on, let's just knock out. You're going to your physician anyways.
Exactly.
Just ask them for an HIV test,
Might as
and
well.
if they say what does two have to correlate them,
Right.
tell them don't be worried about it.
Exactly.
Just test me.
exactly. It just going to get. I think
Just go ahead and test me.
that speaks volume. So let us segue into that. So, Josh, you are you're billed as Houston's first radio show dedicated
Yes.
to people living with HIV, right?
Yes.
Their friends and their family. So, what made you? So you already gave us a little bit of what made you start POZ Impact, and you can tell us as much as you want
Yeah.
or as much as you feel. But what was it? What was that moment or that epiphany that you said that something was needed? Was it something that happened to you, or was it something that you saw happen to someone else, and you was like, wait a minute?
Yeah, so
Hold on.
a little bit of both, you know. And so, you know, how I started with POZ Impact is I really, I was part of Project Leap class. And Project Leap is a class that the Ryan White offers, the Houston Ryan White offers, and it's a 17-week course. And they really go in depth of what is happening in the community with HIV.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first got diagnosed, I was just, I wanted to know more. I wanted to know why is this still a pandemic? Why is it still as an epidemic in Houston? And when I started to figure out the stats, you know, Houston is still number 16th of the nation.
Oh.
We're still number 1 in the state of Texas for new HIV diagnosis, but no one's talking about that. This whole HIV epidemic that the president released is a joke.
Mhm.
And honestly, like he says he's gonna give like $8 million, or he's like, oh, you guys can qualify for like it's $100 million out there, $100 billion that people can qualify for.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's like $100.
Yeah.
You know? And so you're like, why did I just waste all my time and energy to propose how to end the epidemic, and yet you're giving us, you're choking us.
Right,
You know,
right.
You're like, oh, we want to end the epidemic, but here's this chokehold.
Right. Exactly.
So we're not really trying to end it, we're just talking about it.
Exactly.
And so, but how I started was with the Ryan White. And the Ryan White offers this Project Leap class, and Benita O'Bray, she was our speaker, and a lot of people know her in the community. She's an excellent activist, and she just came and talked to us about, everybody has a lane, and your lane is not for everybody,
Right.
and everybody is not in for your lane.
Gotcha.
And so there's multiple lanes that you can go. There's a lane for being an activist. There's a lane to help. If you're an attorney, you do the pro bono stuff for activists. If you are if you want to get arrested, you can get arrested being an activist. You can post bond. You can there's so many things that you can do, and there's so many, not everybody has to be in one designated lane. Like
Exactly. Exactly.
what
Right,
you're doing
right.
doesn't have to be for everybody.
Right.
And I was already thinking about doing a podcast, something about something. I was really didn't know what else. I just wanted to do one because everybody was doing one kind of.
Right.
And I realized that there is no place where people who are living with HIV here in Houston can really talk about what's happening in Houston regarding HIV. Why are we these numbers? How is this affecting our African American community, our Black community? How is this affecting our Hispanic community? How is this affecting our Asians, our Pacific Islanders? Why are we still number one? We pride ourselves in Houston because we have the largest medical center. We're still number one. We pride ourselves on being the best. We are still number 16 in the nation. So why are we still this? And I wanted to kind of reach base, and I saw that while there's so much information that's out there, people don't really know how to get there, and there's this fear of getting tested. This fear that we talked about of people would rather get the corona test than the HIV test.
Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
that's why I was like, well, we need something out there that we can provide people who are coming in. So that's why I'm gonna have ACE Foundation on our show. Next month is coming in. We've had Avenue 360 coming on our show. We're gonna have Thomas Street come on our show, and then just activists.
Yeah.
HIV, activists out there who are doing the community work already. They needed a voice, and what I heard was that we, like one show, they only give them there's one show out here that will give them a voice, but it's only once every 6 months.
Right.
Once every 6 months is not available anymore. It's not what we're doing is not working at the moment. And so what do we do differently from now on? And so I was like, okay, well, let me start a radio show so I can bring attention to this, and we can start bringing awareness that HIV hasn't gone anywhere. This is still an epidemic for HIV. Why is this? We know so much about HIV. We know what we need to do.
Right.
Why are we not mandatory testing for everybody who goes in, an opt-out versus an opt-in?
Exactly. Exactly.
Everybody should get, any hospital you go to, any lab work that you get drawn, everybody should have an HIV test.
Yeah.
And that's how we'll control it. The same thing that we're trying to control this coronavirus, it's the same thing. You gotta get tested in order to know that you have it.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that if you are tested negative, there's options. So if you are practicing sex, if you're, if you are sexually active, then you can get on PrEP.
Right.
And that prevents from HIV. It's a 99%. It's a 99.9% or 98.9. Very, very high percentage of not being able to get HIV. And so if you like to practice condom sex, then that's great. Then we're not judging how you practice sex. We just want to make sure that you're healthy.
Right. You do you.
And if you are HIV positive, well, we want to make sure that you're not infecting anybody else.
Right.
We know that with antiviral treatment medication, you can become you can become undetectable, which means that you're not going to transmit it to anybody else. And that's our goal. Our goal is to get everybody to become undetectable who currently has HIV. Now, if you're worried about no insurance, if you're worried about having where I'm going to get this money, this is where Ryan White comes in. Ryan White offers people who doesn't have insurance, who do have insurance but they're low income. They provide assistance. So whether it's providing your medication, whether it's providing for your doctor's office, there's a ton of assistance out there. You can go to several websites out there. ACE Foundation in Houston, Thomas Street, Avenue 360, Legacy Clinic offers testing. The first thing is getting a test. And so wherever you go to get a test and find out whether you're HIV positive or negative, and get tested frequently. I just had somebody. This is the second test, and he like his first test was at some I think was at AIDS Foundation, and we talked about being he came on my show, and we started talking about being tested, and I was like I asked him when was the last time you got tested, and he's like I don't know. And so I was like, well, how about we make a commitment to me that you're going to go get tested?
Right.
And he did. He got tested. He's negative, and he's still negative.
Right.
But he's being proactive about it, and he realizes that he has a higher percentage chance of getting HIV. And so we want to make sure that we're not trying to judge anybody on your sexually, what your sexual options are, what's in your bedroom is your thing. We just want to make sure that you're healthy. We want to make sure that you stay healthy.
Right.
We know if you don't take medications, not only you're passing the virus to somebody else, but you're also unhealthy.
Exactly.
You may having night flashes. You may having, like, why do I keep on having night flashes? Why do I keep on getting sick so often?
Right.
Why is my body? Why am I so tired?
I would say, why am I always tired? Right.
Those are the signs that you could be living with HIV.
Right.
Now HIV takes those signs takes a long time to progress, and that's why people think that you have a cold. That's how it usually starts, and then it ends, and no signs of symptom comes away until like 10 years later.
Exactly.
When your immune system is definitely compromised. But we want to make sure that we don't get there.
Exactly.
We want to make sure that we treat it early, and you become healthy.
Right.
And as soon as you start taking your medication, within like 3 months, you'll become undetectable.
Indeed.
And so it's not a problem anymore. Yes, it's a little bit of regimen that you have to take your medication.
But that's with anything that you do, though, right?
And true. Yeah. And now they're gonna start offering injectable.
Yeah.
So a once a month injection, and instead of taking a pill daily, and that's my I'm signing up for that immediately. I already told my doctor that as soon as that, I think that they'll be approved within the next time I go to my visit. But as soon as that's available, I'm definitely gonna go there because I just feel, to me, it's a pain to try to. I don't know how to work this. let me hand it to the pros. We don't take any live calls anymore on our show because I don't know how to work the phone.
Right.
But it's so important to get tested, guys. As we're trying to find out the corona test. If you're going to your doctor's appointment already, ask them for an HIV test. What's the harm in it? There is no harm at all, and the best news you can get is that you're HIV negative.
Right.
And then you don't have to worry about it, for another 3 months.
Right.
But if you're sexually active, and I tell my friends as well too all the time, if you're sexually active, gay, straight, queer, however you're sexually active, if you are sexually active, please go get tested. Even if you had the same partner for years, if you haven't gotten tested in a year, that should be your cue to go get tested again. If you don't even know when was the last time you got tested, this is your cue to go get tested. If you're thinking that you can't afford it, most insurance will cover testing now. So there's no excuse now, especially with this whole coronavirus. People have plenty of time. People don't have time for the doctor. Well, now you do. Now I want to make sure that people are this gets into their heads. So I'm going to repeat it again. Go get tested. Go get tested. I know that we're all worried about the coronavirus, but you should be really more worried about HIV than you should be worried about the corona. HIV has been here for a minute, and it's not going anywhere. And the only way we're going to be able to end the epidemic, and because HIV is still an epidemic, right. So the only way that we can end the HIV epidemic is if we all get tested. The same way that we all trying to get tested for this coronavirus, we all have to get tested for HIV. And ask your physicians. If your physician is not someone that you can trust, if your physician is maybe you think that your physician may judge you,
right.
Go to another clinic.
Exactly.
Go to another clinic. Go to Legacy. Go to Thomas Street. Go to Avenue 360. Go to St. Hope.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I turned the volume up. Good morning. You're on with Titan and Josh. Who am I speaking with? I'm sorry.
Yes. We have a live caller.
Are you on?
Hello?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good. I don't know.
First of all, I want to thank y'all for all the and I don't thank y'all for all y'all work y'all do for the great with HIV. But I think what Josh was saying is right. But I also believe that government should step in situations like this to have special funding for us. Because if the government send no money, that money should be going to HIV and healthcare. I believe that. And so that's why I think we should fight for fund for HIV and more resources for us.
Right. So you're saying that you think that there should be funding for us? What did you just say? I'm sorry.
Yes, fund for HIV, for people who positive contact, to get free taxes, get travel, stuff like that. I think the government should provide funding for that.
And
Right.
So the government does provide a little bit of funding for that, and it's called like test and treat. And so there are current available options that do provide for testing. It's not a problem really getting paid for the testing because a lot of physicians know how to manipulate the diagnosis
Right.
a little bit, if that word is okay to say, to make sure that you can get tested for HIV.
Right.
And all you have to say to your doctor is that you are sexually active, and that should really much cover the test being, And if you're not trusting your physician, if you think that your physician may judge you because he's your primary care and you know him since birth, and he's your pediatrician whenever he was a child,
Right.
or he's a family physician and you're worried about him telling your friends, go get diagnosed at another facility. And there's multiple facilities out there that you can go to and get tested at. So if you go to actually NHIV Houston, they list some facilities there.
Okay. Because I just got tested the other day and I can't make it. So that was a good thing.
That is fantastic. I love that. I love to hear that.
So that's why I was calling in about that.
Yes.
No problem. Thank you for calling in.
Yes. Call again. But definitely the government should definitely step up. I mean, so Trump initiated this, end HIV in 10 years. But why does it have to take 10 years?
Right.
Why,
Right.
as we can see, we can we can put $1.5 trillion into the stock market. We can put all this money into coronavirus.
Right.
But when it comes down to HIV funding, so we got approved for like under $2 million when we submitted a budget of close to $9 million.
Right.
And so all this stuff that we wanted to do, like provide transportation to people who are not eligible, like let's say you live in Beaumont,
Right.
or you live in Livingston, or you live in a small county here in Texas. How do you get to the doctor's office if you don't have there's no mass transit, you can't really call a cab, you need to know somebody, so who's going to take you to that doctor to get treated?
Right.
And so for those people who reach out to maybe like come into Houston if you can. I know that may be a little bit of a drug, but if you can't trust your physician, that should not stop you from getting tested.
Right. I think sometimes we have to understand when we're in this fight, and I'm new to this, and a lot of people that are on the live feed and listening to us can probably attest and speak on it better than I can. But I believe what happens is that HIV is no longer a threat. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially when we're talking about government funds and money and things like
Yeah.
that. We want to play nice and we want to be pretty and we want to say, let's stop it, right?
Yeah.
Let's eradicate it. But are we really, really that scared of it now, right? And so a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it's still an epidemic. It's still this, it's still that. But just going to show how the government handles it,
Yeah.
right? They're
Yes.
pumping all of this money. And then Adonis just made a good point. He said, you're right about the chokehold, Josh. He said, I'm confused as to how the government is able to bail out big businesses while
Yes.
the working class
Yes.
is supposed to save up 3 months of savings.
Yes.
But that's because they already know that it's not what it's made out to be, right? So I'm say this, and y'all can come at me if you want to, but so a couple of million people died. So what happens, right?
Yeah.
What we're going to keep on going over here because we know that they can live a long and healthy life now. We know that we have all of this. Big business, the drugs, right? Everybody, so all of us that are HIV positive, we all have to take medicine,
Yes.
right? To stay
Alive.
undetectable, right? To stay
Yes.
alive. Let's put it that way. They know that that's big business. So why are they going to stop that from happening?
Correct.
So let us go ahead and give them a little bit, like you said. Let us give. So we need 8 million. Let's just give them a little under 2 million, so they
Yes.
can still struggle,
Yes.
right? But
Right.
they can make some headway. And that's the way it always seems to me. It always seems like they're giving me, hey, here go 10, but let me take back 8,
Yes.
like that, right?
You know, exactly. And so, we were so excited that they're like, oh man, we there's so much we can do with this unrestricted money because this money
Right.
is unrestricted.
Right.
It's all about how do you end the epidemic, and you have to lay out your plan so that you write your grant.
Exactly.
And we had all these, it took us months to agree on what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do this. This is part of the planning council. This is what we do, and bam, it just takes it, takes it all away from you in an instant. This hope that you have that, wow, the government, I can't believe the government's actually thinking about ending the epidemic.
Right.
And when at the same time, they're like, oh, no.
Exactly.
No, we're not.
Exactly.
We're not trying to end it. We're just trying to make
Right.
sure that y'all shut up for a little bit.
Right. Exactly.
This is a good press conference. This is a good
Right.
headline, end HIV epidemic. But at the same time, you're not giving me no money,
No.
and you're actually decreasing my money from what I normally would get.
Yeah.
And so you not only decreased my money, but you actually stopped any kind of research for a new HIV diagnosis,
Right,
any HIV
right.
vaccine or a cure. The Trump administration is like, nope, cut all that stuff,
Right.
and we're gonna give you. We'll go ahead and give you $1 million, but we're gonna cancel all this.
Exactly. Like, what the heck is happening?
It doesn't work that way. So that's why it's so important that we have a voice. And I'm excited that you are going to have a voice now, being part of Project Leap.
Mhm.
And that will give you more of a powerful voice that
Right.
you've ever had before. And I'm so excited that you'd be going through it.
So, y'all, ladies and gentlemen, I had not made the announcement
Oh,
as
I'm
of
sorry.
yet. Oh, no, you're fine, because it's been already. But I have actually received my acceptance letter to Project Leap. I am joining the fight. I am joining the peeps. I am joining.
Yes.
I am in there. But a reason why, and I want to say thank you to Josh, because Josh actually said, hey, Titan, I think this is something that you would really like. I've been watching you. I've been seeing you. And Josh was one of the first people to have me on his show, and we talked about being HIV
Yes.
positive and things like that. But I wanted to know more. Like I'm like Josh. I'm sitting here saying to myself, okay, come on, y'all. Like there's no way that I have been living with HIV for 15 years, thriving. I'm good, but I'm not good because we haven't really made a whole lot of leeway. It's good what we've done,
Yes.
but if you really think about it, again, you're giving me something to soothe, right?
That's
What's
it.
going on,
That's it.
but then you rip the Band-Aid off to open the wound back up again, because there's still, how is it that our infection rate is rising, transmission rate is
Is
rising?
rising.
How is that possible? And then not only that, how is it possible with our female counterparts? Like now it is more like I read somewhere, I was talking with, I want to say I was talking to Adonis or someone the other day, and they were telling me that our African American females are at a higher rate, right?
Yes, they're being diagnosed at
Yes.
a higher percentage.
Yes.
And to me, that is also astonishing because I'm thinking, why? But people are being afraid to get tested. And that is my whole.
Thank you.
That is my whole thing about this is that we cannot fear to be tested, and we should be all being tested.
Exactly.
Because we know transmission happens, and people think
Yes.
that female to female transmission does not happen, but it does happen through
Right.
secretions.
Right.
People be fooling around, all that stuff. I mean, body fluids is how HIV gets transmitted.
Yes.
We know this. So it doesn't happen through a
Yes.
handshake. It doesn't happen through saliva. It does happen through bodily fluids, and sometimes a lot of lesbian couples forget kind of that
Right.
that factor.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that we're telling everybody,
Right.
hey, go get tested.
Exactly.
Please go get tested.
Exactly.
And I'm so excited that you're going to be part of Project Lead. It did. So I'm a graduate of 2019.
Okay.
So I'm a baby graduate.
Right.
But
But then I also saw that you were okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I also saw that you're a graduate, but I also saw that you're on the board now.
So now I'm
or?
actually part. Yeah. So part of the Project Lead is that's the whole reason why they offer this Project Lead. It's because they want to be part of the council, or
Right.
be part of the subcommittees. And
Right.
so Project Lead, the council is 36 people on the council, so I'm actually one of those 36.
Okay.
Then I'm also part of the priority and allocations committee. So the priority and allocations, we get to decide the funding. So it's like they're basically they just showed us, a picture, and you have 5 cups, and you have to pour this water
Right.
into all these 5 cups. But how much does each cup get?
Exactly.
Is it equally?
Right.
Does one cup get more than the other cup?
Right.
And why does one cup get more than one cup?
Gotcha.
And so it's a little bit complicated because when it's a lot of numbers that you have to look at, and it's a lot of information that you're having to see. But it's also very informative because if you are using Ryan White, you have a little bit of experience of what is actually working on boots on the ground.
Right.
So
right.
while the planning council may say this is a great thing, you as a member, like, hold on, look, I'm gonna give you guys, this is what I know from how this is using it. How about we do it this way?
Right.
And
right.
From somebody who's actually using that services.
Exactly.
Because sometimes the policy doesn't match what the actual policy, boots on the ground will actually happen. And so that's why I'm so excited about being able to join the council, the Houston Ryan White
Right.
Council, because I have a voice.
Yeah.
And I get to decide. I get one vote,
Yes.
and sometimes my vote doesn't go my way, or
Right.
sometimes it doesn't go the way that you make a motion and you say your argument, and sometimes it gets shut down, and there may be another reason behind it. People have been there for longer than you have, and so you kind of like see what the
Right.
process is a little bit going on, but
Yeah.
it's about having a voice in the community for the community.
Right.
And I'm not sure if people realize that I'm not doing just for me.
Right.
While I'm there representing the entire Harris County community, plus I think we handle 16 other counties as well too.
Okay.
So we have to make sure that when we're saying this stuff, it actually can happen, not just in Harris County,
Right.
but in Beaumont and all these other counties that are smaller counties. That how are they going to get transportation?
Exactly.
How are they supposed to get, funding from? How are they supposed to get HIV tests
Right.
if their doctor is a local? They only have one physician, and he's the gossip of the town.
Right.
Oh, he's got HIV, and the next
Yeah.
thing you know, everybody knows they have HIV.
Right.
And not a lot of people are wanting to have that. And so I want to make sure that people are aware that you can go to different physicians. Go to, I want to say harriscounty.org, Harris Health, or
Right.
IV360, or Legacy. Legacy has a lot of facilities out there. Please go get tested.
Yes.
You know.
Indeed. So let me ask you this,
Yes.
Josh. So I think sometimes you said something that really makes a point. You said that how else can I help my community is that I'm living it, right? I'm going through it. And
Yeah.
so what got me was is that I started working with AIDS Foundation Houston, right? And I started working as a peer navigator. And I'm normally the person that comes in after you've been diagnosed, right? I come in, and what I like to build as give you that emotional, that spiritual, and that mental support, right? Because sometimes what we don't understand is that once you've been told, even though we know that HIV is not a death sentence anymore, right? We still know it carries that stigma of death, right?
Yes.
And so I remember being in a doctor's office, and I say this all the time because I want people to understand how it affects people, right? How you can be affected and how you can be affected by what somebody tells you, right? The doctor came in and basically said to me that I had AIDS, right?
Yeah.
In the media and everywhere, this was 15 years ago, but in the media and everywhere, it was a death sentence, right? It's just like when somebody tells you have cancer, automatically somebody goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry," like you're already dead. Like,
Yes.
what's
Yeah.
going on? So I said to myself that I would never want anybody to ever go through that, because he basically said you have AIDS and he walked out of the room. So I remember how quiet it was. I remember how I didn't know if I was going to live. I remember how my mother was bawling and crying, and because she was with me at the time. And I just remember how this, and then I remember saying to myself, okay, like, so what do I do? So when I started to do the speaking in my truth and talking about what was going on, what I did was I made a promise to myself, to my spirit, to my God, to the universe, that I was going to never let somebody else go through what I went through, right? If I could help it. But the point that I'm trying to make is that we're in the community because this is how it affects us. But I didn't know that we still had so far to go. Like, we are,
Yes.
like seriously, like we are still like dealing with issues and problems that I thought were eradicated. I thought were done, until I started sitting in these conferences and these rooms and at the table, and I'm saying, wait, that's still an issue?
Yeah.
That's still a problem? Like that's still, you know what I'm saying? Like, so when you see this, and I'm segueing into something else, when you see this, can you tell us just a little bit about your journey? You don't have to go deep if you don't want to, but let us know your feelings when you were first. You said it's been about 2 years.
Yes.
Let us know your feelings when you
I think
first.
I'm on my third year. Actually.
Okay, third year. Yeah, I lose count sometime all the time. The only reason
I have it on my calendar. Like,
yeah. So it was funny because I told somebody the other day. I said, well, my anniversary, and they was like, you celebrating?
Yeah, you know, so I was gonna ask you that question too. Like, do you celebrate like when? It's not a celebration. But
I did before.
I just want to. I guess I just put it on my calendar because I want to keep track of it. You know, as well too, because I forget. But at the same time, I didn't want to celebrate it, but I wanted to acknowledge it.
Well, but here's the thing. This is what I said.
And I'll answer your question after that.
So this is what I said. I don't necessarily want to celebrate it, if you would.
Yeah.
Or whatever that it may be for whoever the person is. But what I do want to celebrate is life, right?
Yeah.
So 15 years after being told that I was going to die, right, I'm still living. So that part I'm actually celebrating. That part is what's on my calendar, like you said, right? That part makes the difference, right? But the reality of it is that, can you pass me some water?
You want
The-
burger or you want me to roll?
Oh, okay.
Here, sorry.
No, so ladies and gentlemen, so what I'm telling Josh is that I don't necessarily celebrate the HIV status, but I do celebrate the HIV positive life that I'm living. So I'm 15 years in, and on my calendar, every May 5th. So this is how it's on my calendar. I was diagnosed, but on May 5th, I was in the hospital, and the doctor told me that I had 4 T cells, right?
Wow.
So that is the day, the May 5th is the day that my diagnosis really made me stand up and pay attention, right? Because I had been doing all of this stuff to not go to the doctor, to not be tested, to not do all of this, and then I get tested, and he diagnosed me with AIDS, right? This is how it was. So a lot of times, when I say this, people say all the time, well, Titan, that's not the right verbiage. Well, what I'm telling you 15 years ago, that was the verbiage that this doctor used with me, right? And so saying to me that I have AIDS and then walking out and then me finding out that because of the stigma, I stayed away and I only had 4 T cells when I got to the hospital because literally I was on my way out the door. I had lost almost 60 to 80 pounds. I was frail. My skin was really, really dark, like grayish. Yeah. I couldn't keep the medicine down. I couldn't keep food down. It was like so much going on. So when we talk about the day or the anniversary, I just started. This has only been just a year because, last year, March, as this is March now, I literally stood in front of a camera and spoke my truth. So I'm only a year in, but I'm 15 years positive. So now I celebrate it because I'm living and I'm still here. But what I didn't know, and I'm going to give you a chance to answer the question, what I didn't know was before I started going to these conferences and these panel talks and started working for AIDS Foundation Houston, that I am not alone. Like
Yes.
there are a lot of people
Yes.
that are out there
Yes.
that are living and thriving 10 years or more, 15 years or more. I met somebody that's 30 years in that's still going. And I don't know if I was under a rock or I just had never paid attention, but I didn't think like that. I thought I was the anomaly, right? You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yeah.
And then I sat in a room full of people that were 15, 16, 20, 30 years, right? And I'm saying, and one guy told me, he said, I was diagnosed in the 80s. And I said, the 80s? I wasn't diagnosed in 2005. You were diagnosed in the 80s?
Yeah.
Like, shut up. But keep on talking. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is crazy. So, going back to
Okay.
that, I said all that
Yes.
to say, yes, now I do celebrate life, right?
And
That's what I
think,
celebrate.
I think that is how we should all view it as well
Yeah.
too, because I think that is another year. So mine's a little bit similar to yours. When I got diagnosed, I was really sick, and so I couldn't eat anything for like I think it was like 6 weeks that I couldn't before I could have it.
I was in the hospital for 2 months.
It happened at the rodeo, so I had
Oh, wow.
people thought that I was just drunk.
Drunk. Oh.
And so what happened was I ate with my friends, and I had it was spaghetti.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a Frito pie.
No, it's no spaghetti. But my friend makes this really good spaghetti, so like I devoured it.
Right.
And we go to the rodeo, and I'm not feeling well,
Right.
and I'm not feeling well at all.
Right.
And I'm like, so I just start throwing up like nonstop. I could not stop throwing up. I was just people were like, man, he's done it.
Yeah, he's wasted.
He's
like,
wasted.
Yeah,
I'm not wasted. I'm just like something. I didn't know what was happening, and so I was like, well, whatever. It's just a bug. It's gonna, I was like, it must have been the spaghetti. That spaghetti
Right, made your stomach.
made my stomach upset for whatever. Even though I've had it many
Right.
times before, never had a problem.
Never had a problem with
But
it.
it was the spaghetti's fault. And so I was like, well, it's just the spaghetti that I ate. It must have not set well with my stomach for whatever reason. I didn't pay any kind of attention. And then the next day, food just started tasting bad. And I didn't know what was happening. Because I was like, this doesn't taste good at all. It had like a metal taste to everything. And so I stopped eating. And I could only eat fruits, vegetables, which is all healthy stuff. But you get tired of eating that stuff very quickly, super quickly. And I could have yogurt, I could have soups. Soup, for whatever reason, soup wasn't a problem as long as it had no chicken or beef in it. It had to be just vegetables.
Right, just vegetables.
And so, luckily, like my friends would like cooked for me, and so I had plenty of that. But I was like, what's going on? So after like 6 weeks of this happening, I'm like, okay, I have to go see a doctor. I'm clearly not getting better. I'm just getting worse. And so I go see a doctor, and they're like, oh no, we don't. I go to a free clinic because I don't have any insurance, And they're like, oh no, we don't do any kind of like your symptoms are not what we deal with. We only deal with like flu, cough, and you actually need to go see a doctor. You go see an emergency room. And so I'm like, okay, so I go. I know my friend works at an urgent care or at a freestanding emergency room, and so I just end up going there to the freestanding, and then they're like, oh, you got diagnosed with HIV. I was like, fuck. But what I didn't know is how far I was.
Right.
And so I had once I got my blood test, and all that happened like 3 months later. I found out I had 10.
Oh,
was
wow.
10 T cells, and so it was. My doctor was like, "Wow, you should really be in the hospital." I can't. I'm surprised that you're doing as well as you're doing.
That's what my doctor said too.
You should really be in ICU at the moment. There's no reason why. Like I feel okay, but I'm just so tired.
Yeah.
I'm just exhausted all the time. And she's like, it's okay, we'll get you on medication, you'll be better. And bam, 3 years later, I'm okay, I'm alive, my T cells are now like almost 300. I'm taking 1 pill a day now.
Cool.
Finally, I see my doctor every
Right.
3 months.
Right.
Now I'm worried about like my medication.
Kudos for that. Kudos for
You know,
that.
now I'm worried about
yes.
like how acid, like, so I start panicking
Yeah.
when I start running low on medication.
Right. Right.
And that's the one thing that I'm trying to be more self-absorbed and try to be like more put it on myself because
Right.
it's not the pharmacy's responsibility.
yeah,
it's my
yours.
life.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
you're right.
you have to take control of your
Right.
life, and that's what I feel like a lot of people don't want to do. I had all these symptoms. I could, had night flashes. I didn't understand what was going on with my body.
Right.
I was just like, I must have this bug or something's going on. I really never really thought I was HIV positive
Right.
until I got diagnosed, and then I was just like, well, I need to do something.
Right.
And I was like a little bit. I didn't know who. I didn't tell anybody. I was just like, I don't want to tell my mom. I don't want to tell
Right.
anything. I think I told one friend, and that's just because he worked at that location, so I knew he was gonna find out anyways because friends go through your chart even though
Right.
technically I'm not supposed to, but
Of course.
if he works there, like
I'm gonna look out for you.
I'm gonna look out for you.
Yeah.
And so,
That makes sense.
I was like, hey, I need to tell you something. So like actually, we're having dinner tonight with the 2 people who I told first.
Gotcha.
And he was a physician. He was a ER physician, and he's like, wow, it's okay. You'll get better. Don't worry about it, and just be healthy. So they started doing like all this research
Yeah.
and giving me like all this information about like how people are living longer,
Yeah.
and now it's no longer a death sentence. You'll be alive. Take your medication, and I was just like, wow. And then realizing this whole community out there, and that I was also blind to. I didn't realize that I wasn't the only one,
Right.
and that I'm here by myself, and I have to
Right.
go through this alone.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that there's this whole family out there that will help you guide you through everything. So you don't have to do this one-on-one any longer. You don't have to be self-indulgent. You don't have to tell your family. You don't have to tell your friends. But you can tell people there are support groups that you can go to. Every Wednesday, I have it on my calendar. The support group that Brain Omega offers. I have yet to attend, but I know that it's there, and I have it on my calendar as a reminder, weekly reminder that there is something if I ever do need in that position,
Right.
I can get that help that I
Right.
can get. So I would just advise everybody, if you do get diagnosed with HIV, first it's not a death sentence, and then there's a whole family out there that can help you out.
Correct.
We are all willing and ready. People who are not living with HIV, people who are. There's a huge community of activists,
Right.
and we kind of don't know until you know, or
Right.
until you know somebody who knows somebody. It's kind of like the thing. But I want to make sure that people are aware. Go to the Ryan White, the Houston Ryan White, get more information from them. Contact POZ Impact, contact Tide. Everybody here, we're all here to help
Exactly.
everybody. And even if you're thinking about getting HIV, maybe you have some symptoms, and you're like, hey, would you come with me to get tested?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
most definitely.
we are here to help you, and
Most definitely.
I will make the time to go with you
Most
to go get tested, and that way you'll have somebody if you want
Right.
somebody who's been through it already.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
what you're gonna go through is nothing that I haven't been through, nothing that Tyne has been through. Even though
Correct.
Tyne's been 15 years, but I'm only 3 years.
Right.
It's the same kind of
Same thing,
experience,
same
and
thing.
versus somebody else who's done it as well too. We all have our experience are all kind of very similar, and so what I would like to get out of this is making sure that nobody else gets it. As well, too.
Exactly. And I have to agree with you on that. A lot of times we don't truly understand how we are not just singular, right? That we're plural. And basically
Yes.
sometimes people say, oh, well, Titan, you're saying this and you're saying that, but although our experiences may be different, right? The way I became HIV positive is not the same way that you became HIV
Yes.
positive, or it could be.
Yes.
But the reality of it is that we're sitting here talking about it and we're being about it, and just like what you said, like I tell people all the time, contact me. If you just want somebody to talk to, right?
Yes.
It's confidential. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I get a lot of people in my inbox that are saying, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Or hey, Titan, I just want to, have somebody to talk to. talk to me, right? I love to talk, as we all know, but I like the fact that you want to reach out and you want to say that. And I think it's it does us a disservice when we can't be open and honest about what's going on. That's why the stigma of being tested is so strong and it's so great, because nobody wants to be labeled as HIV positive, or nobody wants to be labeled as whatever the stigma puts on you. But when you're able to stand here and you're able to say, when I started like going places and doing things in the community, I really didn't know. And I was telling Ian one day, we were standing at this conference and we were standing off to the side. And I told Ian, I said, Ian, do you know that I've had 3 people walk up to me before I even got in the building and was like, thank you for doing what you're doing. And I was like, well, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I'm just over here being tight and running my mouth. That's all I'm doing.
No, absolutely.
But I didn't understand the magnitude of my position or where I was standing on my platform.
Yes.
Because you told me when I was sitting in the chair on the side of you on your show that night, you said, Titan, I want to congratulate you and thank you for doing what you're doing. And I was like, well, hell, Josh, I'm trying to do what you're doing. Like, I'm new to all of this, so I'm this huge sponge. But I really didn't realize how important it was for us to have like POZ Impact, or for us to be able to have these conversations on the Thought to Ponder or whatever have you. I told him I think that we have to stop. We have to stop with the stigma. Sometimes we have our own stigma, right?
Yes, for
and,
sure.
And so sometimes we have to stop with our own stigma within our own HIV community, because we're sitting here talking about it, but then some people in the HIV community do not like the fact that we are sitting here freely talking about this and asking people to come, you know, and get tested and stuff like that. I'm saying, well, how are we supposed to? What are we supposed to do?
How are we supposed to end this if we don't get tested? Like that is the only way we're all gonna find this, if we all come together as a community. Because you know, so I think it's 1 in 200 people here in Harris County are diagnosed with HIV.
Wow.
1 in 200. Wow. And so if you think about that, you know, people were saying gatherings of 50 or more. You know, that's crazy to think about that. So we most likely you will know somebody, because you know more than 200 people.
Indeed.
And so most likely you'll know.
Guaranteed
if you don't know, you know me, you know Ty, you know
Guaranteed.
somebody that they may not be out as much as we are about our status, but that doesn't mean that they're not living with HIV.
Exactly.
And and everybody has a lane to do it.
Right.
You know, so for the people who are not ready, that's okay. Take your medication, do what you're doing, but encourage somebody else to go get tested as well too.
Right.
You know, that's the best thing that and a lot of people will put statuses like, oh, I'm okay with whatever.
Right.
Just I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, which is okay. Because you know what Benita was telling us is that, you know, their lane may be that lane.
Yeah.
And that is okay.
Yeah.
No, not every lane is to be an activist. Not every lane is to be a loud mouth. Not every lane is to be up in your face and talking about all this information, which is okay. You can be in that lane as well too.
Right.
But you don't have to be. You can have your own lane, and if your lane could be maybe talking one-on-one with somebody.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But as long as we're all coming together as a community to talk about this and really making sure that we as a community are saying, hey, when was the last time you got an HIV test?
Exactly.
And stop the stigma, because we have it as well too. I don't talk about it as much, you know, so when we talked earlier, like, oh, don't, you know, should we talk about HIV?
Right.
Like I don't, like when I was saying, like, I don't disclose it.
Right.
If you come to me and you ask me, I'm gonna tell you. But I'm not here advertising it to the entire world. I don't put it on my Facebook page. I'm not that bold.
Right.
You know.
Right.
I'm in my lane.
Exactly.
You know, I'm in my lane. I'm doing my podcast. I'm doing my my POZ Impact.
Right.
And I feel that's my voice to the community.
Yeah.
I'm on the Ryan White.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're advocating, but I don't have to tell everybody. That's not your business.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I have several friends who don't know, who I've never told.
Right.
They know that they probably know because I do all the shows.
Right.
But I haven't just sat down and told them, and they're like, oh, why haven't you done that?
Right.
Well, Why should I? Are you gonna?
Yeah.
Do you tell me when you got an STD? Do you tell me when you got cancer? Like cancer, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you are, if you're diagnosed with high blood
Yeah.
pressure, if you get diagnosed with whatever, you don't sit there and today I got diagnosed with hypertension.
Yeah.
Why should I be anything different?
Right. Right.
Well, today I got diagnosed with diabetes.
Mm.
No, you don't be telling people you got. Sometimes people do, but you don't. You're not obligated to tell anybody
Right.
unless you're my son. Unless I'm gonna be intimate with you.
Exactly. I think that we have a point of disclosure to where you have to be comfortable and you have to be all right with disclosure.
Yes.
I wanna speak on something to where like our audience would understand. Like, so Josh is on the show this morning talking about POZ impact, talking about his status and things like that. However, Josh is not further along on the journey
Yes.
like I am. Although I just came into this arena last year,
Yeah.
I'm moving forward. And so what I did was I sat down and I talked with my village, my tribe, and I told them, I said, hey y'all, I said, y'all all know what's going on with me. Y'all been knowing, since whatever. But the reality of it is that I told them, I said, when I do this was last year, March, I said, when I do this, I'm going to go head first. So I want you to understand, I had a talk with my mother, I had a talk with my family members, I had those that have been ride or die with me from the beginning.
Yeah.
I wanted to let them know where I was, because what's going to happen is that all of this is going to start coming y'all way because y'all are right next to me, y'all are associated with me.
Yeah.
So I applaud you for doing what you're doing and how you're doing it, and at your own pace and at your own time, because it's not for everybody. When I first told them about I spoke it out loud, I was really expecting backlash. I was really expecting for it to be horrible, for it to be terrible, and I really got an overwhelming sense of security, right? A sense of it's okay for you to do what you need to do. It's okay. It's all right. However, I did have those that were in my inbox, those that were not afraid to say, okay, well, so that's why you wasn't talking to me back then, and that's why you were doing this, and I can't believe that you almost, and somebody told me, I can't believe you almost infected me. How am I, first off, I don't like the word infected, back up off me with that. Like I told them, I may,
first language.
Right, exactly. Like I told them, I may be HIV positive, but I'm no punk. I'm no punk. I'm talking about in an arena, like, you don't step to me. I'm not talking about like, gay. I'm talking about I'm no punk, so back up off me. But then they were like, well, why didn't you tell me? So what it was with me, Josh, is that I had made up an excuse or a false story of how I became HIV positive. And I told everybody around me that's how I did. I literally blamed myself, right? I blamed myself. I said this is what it was. But it wasn't until last year I'm doing this documentary with Ian, because you had us on the show talking about the documentary. I'm doing this documentary and I'm talking to the therapist, and the therapist says to me that you have to let whatever it is go. Like, you gotta let it go. Like, in order for you to stand in your truth, truthfully, stand flat-footed in your truth, you gotta let it go. I'm not saying this for you. I'm saying this is how my revelation came, or my epiphany came. I told her, I was like, there ain't nothing going on. So I go to the taping of the documentary, and I'm sitting there, and everybody is doing their thing, and I go up and I do my segment, my episode, and I'm talking about what happened to me and stuff like that. And so this lady was there, and she basically said that I triggered her with my story, right? And we were like, how did he trigger you? Like, how, like that? And she said, I too was raped. The heck? What? Whatever. Yeah. So I went on and sat down, did my little interview, and in the middle of the interview, Josh, it came flooding. It came down like rain. Like, I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
I started wailing, like hollering, like all this time. I had never ever said, never even thought it was what happened. It was the situation. It was I shouldn't have done this. It was all of that. But the reality of it is that he was slipping me something and having sex with me unconsciously. I didn't know. The next day or the next morning when I woke up, I knew something was different, but I didn't know what it was. And so I had never called it rape. And when I finally said, it was like, so that's what the therapist was talking about. She was saying I gotta stand in my truth. So from that point on, it was my duty. So I went to my peeps, you know, that always hold me down, my family, my tribe, my village, and I said, look, y'all, I said, I've been holding this for 14 years. I cannot hold it anymore. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna change my. And it was a lot of back and forth, until Ian said, right before my birthday last year, he said, Titan, just press record and talk. Like, I don't know why you're trying to make this elaborate scene and do all this. Just press record and talk. Yes. And I pressed record and I talked, and after that I was like, this is crazy. But what I do know is that our walks are different times, different places, things like that. But for me, I had to come out swinging if I was going to survive, because I had been holding this for 14 years, and I had been walking around with it for I don't know how long. But what was crazy was that when my village, right, found out that that was not the way I told them that I became HIV positive, was not the way I became HIV positive. They were like, and I told them, you don't understand how it is. Everybody around you is talking about what you should be. You should be a man, Titan. You're a black man. You can't be girly. You can't be feminine. You got to be a man. You are a father. You have a daughter. You have this. You have that. All this stuff was going on. So I had to be this way. I was 8 years in the military. So I had to be this way. I was this and I was that. And so I was like, what the heck is happening right here? And all of that, it became the norm. It was not normal. It became the norm, but it wasn't normal, right? And then I didn't have things like POZ Impact. I didn't have things like AIDS Foundation Houston or Legacy or anything like that. I didn't know. Although I was in the system with Legacy and Ryan White when I was diagnosed. But I still didn't. I went to a support group in the beginning, and the support group was trash. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest. The support group was trash because everybody was more worried about the act of me getting HIV than me having HIV. Like, nobody was asking, was I okay? Nobody was wondering, you know, how am I going? And then the people that were running the group, and I've learned over time that they probably were going through their own trauma at this time, but it was not healthy because we had different people in the group. There was no safe space. There was no addressing me how I identify. There was no understanding of what I'm going through, or even understanding, like I just said, where you're at, Josh, like right where you're at. So I think I said all of that to say this, is that from 15 years ago to now, or 14 years ago to now, with seeing POZ Impact and with seeing the State of Emergency Task Force and all these other groups, and Ian doing the Normal Anomaly and Outcry, and then I just had Dee Dee Waters on yesterday, and Dee Dee was going in and talking. I've had Ashton P. Woods on. I've had a lot of other people on, but I didn't have that, or maybe I did, and I just didn't know.
And you know, and real quick, I just want to make sure that everybody is listening to our show.
Right.
How you became HIV positive is nobody's business as well too.
Come on.
And so it doesn't. If you ask me how you became HIV positive, I'm gonna tell you shut the fuck up. And you know, sorry for that language.
Yeah.
But we will make sure. I will, like come at you hard.
Right.
Because it really doesn't matter how we got here.
Right.
Is that we're here. So
Right.
Don't worry about my past. Worry about what I'm doing at the moment.
Exactly.
And so with that being said, Titan, I was so impressed with you when I was brand new at doing all this information.
Right.
And you guys came in, the way you guys were talking, the way you expressed yourself, I was like, man, this guy is going places. Like he has,
Well, thank you.
you know, and I'm so happy that you are in this, you know, because I think that there's always been this community, but how do we get this community out to the public?
Exactly.
How do we tell the community that there is this community out there for you?
Right.
Because while we think that we know, or we think that we're by ourselves, in reality we have Ian, we have
Exactly.
P.D. Waters, we
Right.
have like
Right.
Renita Ray, we
Yeah.
have all these activists out here that have been doing this for a long time that we just haven't known about it.
Right.
And so that's why, you know, POZ Impact is like, I want to do more. I want to have like a dedicated. I'm still working out my whole thing, but you know, every third Monday or every Tuesday we're gonna have we only have Mondays,
Right.
but every third Monday or every second Monday we're gonna have like somebody from like the health department, somebody from NHIV Houston, somebody from the planning council, you know, because I want to make sure that we have a voice. And I want to make sure we use that voice appropriately to making sure that other people who may be scared, who may be are on that fence of, yes, I know what you're saying, and yes, I should probably be tested, but I feel okay.
Right.
I don't have no night sweats. I haven't had sex in maybe 6 months. But when was the last time you got tested?
Exactly.
So at this point, so now if you haven't had any kind of sexual relationship in 6 or 7 months or a year, that's great. When was the last time you got tested?
Exactly.
So if you got tested prior to you stopping all that stuff, and if you still have random sexual activities with whoever, you know, make sure you get tested afterwards.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean anything. It's just making sure that you are accountable for your own health. And you're doing whatever you need to do to protect yourself.
Exactly.
Because nobody's in control of your body but you.
Exactly.
So I can blame this on everybody. I can say, you know, whatever the case is, but at the end of the day, it was my responsibility. I take full responsibility for this. And I take my medication daily so that I know that I can't be transmitted to nobody. I want to be healthy. I want to live, and that was what kind of my family was telling me. It was like, you know, do you want to live?
Yeah.
You know, what if you want to live? This is what you have to do.
Yeah, like what does it take?
You know, do you want to be able to stay healthy? Do you want to do this stuff? And you know, first I was a little bit confused and shocked and not knowing what, and thinking, you know, I may only have a couple of years left. But then finding, you know, the medication, I got just diagnosed 3 years ago versus people who've been diagnosed 30 years ago, and they're still up and living, and they didn't have the medication that we currently have.
Exactly.
So this fear is gone away, but at the same time, I'm not anywhere where you're at.
Exactly.
And to me, that's okay, because I have my lane and you have your lane, and Ian has his lane, and you know, everybody has their own lane that they can advocate, and they can do their own stuff, and which is important, because not everybody has, you know, when we're sipping on these, this is a building block.
Exactly.
You know, it's, you know, your block, my block, his block, your block. You know, we keep on building our blocks, and so when we all connect together, there's a strong force, and there's this community out there that does exist. And you know, so when I said about, you know, having a group, make sure that your group is also it's your village. And you may not be able to talk to your village for a while, and you may have to find a new village, and that's okay as well too. You can have you don't have to come out to everybody that you're HIV positive. You can just call you know, maybe you have a really good friend that can help you out. If you don't know, then look up, you know, social groups, or look up, you know, contact the Ryan White Council. Contact somebody will be your mentor. At Thomas Street, we have mentors as well too, because this is such a, I don't say it's a delicate experience, but you have this emotion, and that emotion is valid.
You're right.
And I don't want to make sure that I don't want to say that the emotion is not valid that you're having, but at the same time, we want to make sure that you are okay, and that you don't think that this is the end of life. And you know, for a lot of long-term survivors. You know, I see like, why should I keep on taking my medication? Why should I continue doing all this stuff when I just want to die?
Exactly.
And you know, do you want to live? I want to live. I want to stay healthy.
Exactly.
I want to be 60. I want to be 80 years old.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not done living. I
Right.
have so much to give to this life.
Right.
You know, and this is just one part of me.
Right.
And that's where I was so excited. You know, I was on the Austin Vega show. He has a little show as well too. His more is like YouTube, but you know, we started talking about HIV and how HIV comes, you know, contact, and I'm like, you know, thinking, wow, you know, people still don't know all this information, and I'm glad that I'm here to share it, because we need activists to share this platform, because we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
And the fear of knowing, I think, is a little bit too much sometimes. And so, taking a deep breath, you know, relax, take 3 deep breaths, like we just did in the beginning of the show. We took 3 big deep breaths,